Okay, I'm starting the recording.
The higher you go, it's unnecessary and it's just more work. So try to keep it lower. Still getting it up high. High, lower. Look at me. This is you. This is you. Way up here.
Turn that.
Down here. Yeah. It's just overall more efficient. Go like that.
Are you the main steerer?
I can't hear you.
Are you the main steerer?
But you have to turn the nose. My control is more in the back and the middle. Let's speed this up.
What do they got? Man-made? Okay, yeah. That must be feel a little tense. You guys doing okay so far, so good? So practice, couple half circle strokes one side, see how much you steer, turn rather. Couple half circle strokes on the other side, see how much you turn. Throw in a stop, so backwards paddle one side, backwards paddle on the opposite side, just to see what happens. So I'll show y'all what the half circle looks like. So if I'm way pointed this direction, all I have to do, nice, slow, wide, there's a lot, paddle very slowly, now I'm pointed right back in the right direction. That's a 45-degree turn just by one slow pull. So it doesn't take as much as you might think. And the most important part of it is keeping yourself in control and just going, think efficiency and not power, right? The more power you exert, the less efficiently your kayak's going to maneuver. So paddle slowly, slower than you might think you have to, especially when you're doing these maneuvers. The faster and the crazier you go, you're just wasting energy. And then don't do that, whatever you got going on with your hands right there. Man, I taught you 4 things, and one of them was always hold your paddle like this. You can do what you need to do by moving your body, not by getting your paddle all crazy. Because you get your paddle all messed up, and now it's all crazy. So the more moving around you do with it, the less likely it's going to be in the right spot. So it's all about how you move your body and how you extend your arms. So look at me. You can get really far away. Look at how far away I am, but just by extending my shoulder. And I'm still straight up and down. This is all in the shoulder. Good? Feeling alright? Alright, so now after you've had a chance to practice a couple of the maneuvers, does your kayak listen to you? When you tell it to turn left, does it turn left? When you tell it to stop, does it stop?
Yes.
All of the lessons and the explanations and the technicalities and all that put aside. That's all we really need to know. Does your kayak listen to you?
Yes.
Yeah?
See.
That's all I need. That's all I need. If you tell it to do something and it does that thing, you guys know how to kayak. Right? You are kayaking properly.
I have to get them down. Like I
So I would bet a fair sum of money that the first wildlife we see within the next few minutes are going to be turtles. So a good place to look for turtles would be any logs or sticks coming out of the water at a gentle slope, preferably in direct sunlight. They don't have to be in direct sunlight, but that helps. We're going to have some really good opportunities coming up here within the next 2 minutes where we'll start seeing some. If anybody cares about plants, while I've got this plant right here, this is actually a state endangered air plant right here above my head. There's 2 of them growing side by side. You see them right above my head. The floppy green ones that look almost like an aloe plant. Has anybody ever seen anything like that before?
Yes, yes.
So we've got 9 different species of air plant that live on this creek alone. Not in the state of Florida, just located on this creek. That's the biggest one, hands down. That's one of the biggest air plants in the world, and that's just a baby one. They'll get 5 or 6 times bigger than that. One of the reasons why they're state endangered is that people want to take them off a tree and bring them home and put them in their backyard. So poaching is a really big cause of the decline in these populations. But also there's a little bug called the bromeliad weevil that burrows into their heart, essentially, like the base of all where their leaves protrude from the inner part of the plant, right when it's about ready to flower. It just burrows right in there because it's got high moisture, and the bug, the weevil, just kind of eats this thing from the inside out and kills it. So a fairly rare plant. We'll see, we might see a few more of those today, but that's the biggest and kind of the coolest one in the state of Florida, hands down. It's called the giant air plant. Does it look familiar to you? Like the top part, how it flops in the tree. What is it? Does it remind you of anything?
Spider plant?
Kind of like a spider plant. What about any fruits?
Oh. Pineapple?
Pineapples.
Yeah.
Looks like it looks different, but it looks similar to the top of a pineapple.
So you can buy them even though they're endangered, right?
You can buy them. Yeah, they're endangered due to the poaching mostly, and that bug. It's a state endangered. It's not a federally protected species. Like you can't just go into a store and buy a bald eagle, right? You can buy these bromeliad, and it might not be that exact species of bromeliad. There's dozens of different species, different types. But that's a cousin to the pineapple. Pineapples are more closely related to that giant air plant than anything else you'll see in the wild. And wild pineapples are air plants. They grow on the side of trees. A true wild pineapple grows on the side of a tree. We started farming them 100 years ago, putting them in the dirt. And we're in the dead of winter now, guys. It hasn't rained since the last hurricane, probably in October. It's sprinkled here and there, but it hasn't properly rained. There's a good habit to get into. Looking at these oak trees in particular, they have all sorts of stuff growing off their branches, all of which are air plants. There's a species of wild orchid that looks like long, flat, green blades of grass. There's a fern right now. It's kind of dormant, but it's growing all over the branches of the tree. Oh yeah. Oh yeah, the water, so for Hurricane Ian, at the end of September, the water was about 6, maybe 7 feet higher than what it is now. For the flood went up to here. Yeah. What's that? Oh, we felt the storm. Yeah, we were getting 80 mile an hour, 100 mile an hour winds, which is honestly fairly, I don't want to say calm. That's about half as bad as it can get. It hit certain places in Florida as a Category 2 or even a high-grade Category 1, which isn't all that bad. Where it immediately impacted the state on the coast, those areas got absolutely destroyed because they have a much higher impact strength. That's usually the case. Whenever where the hurricane hits coastally, it has a more immediate impact strength, and as it goes in, it dies down a little bit. A lot of rain. Like a lot of rain. So that's why we sustain floods at this height for weeks because there's no way for the water to drain. All the rain drains here. It's a naturally fed rainwater drainage system under the Mississippi River Basin. And wherever it rains, it naturally flows into this creek for miles around us, all the way up north through southwest Orlando. It goes to the creek. And that's natural. Now, you know, it's non-natural, man-made causes like drainage canals and people's lawns don't absorb water. Obviously, roads don't absorb water. You've got a lot of runoff from non-natural sources as well. So that increases the flooding even more. The first wildlife, guys, is a really cool, weird bird sitting on this cutoff. I figured it would be a turtle. I was wrong. This is an anhinga, Florida anhinga. On the left-hand side, sitting on this stump cutoff. So don't get too close. You give him about 15 feet or so. Stay put. This is a weird bird, and he's doing a weird display, kind of a weird posture right now. He's got his wings spread out. What's he doing?
Drying his wings out.
Why?
Because he's wet.
Because what?
Because he's wet.
Is he too wet?
Yeah. It's pretty.
Yeah, so like that's not typical for a bird to do that. Most birds, we'll say a lot of birds are waterproof. The anhinga is not waterproof. You see a duck, you take a duck, you dunk that sucker underwater, he pops back up, he's dry. He's bone dry. They have a waterproof oil on their feathers. Anhingas do not have that. They are a subaquatic hunting bird, so they dive underwater and they spearfish with their beak. So if they had that buoyancy, that waterproof buoyancy, they wouldn't be as agile underwater. So they would drastically either increase the amount of work they had to do to stay submerged, or they wouldn't be as efficient and quick under the water. So for them to do what they do, they can't be waterproof. So you see one jump in the water and like how a duck would float perfectly on the surface, this thing sinks almost all the way. All you see is a little bit of its neck poking out. So that's what he's doing. He's probably fishing 5 minutes ago. He looks a little dry, but he hasn't been up there for more than about 5 minutes.
Yeah, it looks a little shiny still.
A little shiny still. Got his back to the sun, real common posture. Back to the sun. Wings spread out, just trying to dry. Another few minutes, he'll be dry enough to take flight. Prior to that, he's too heavy, he's too waterlogged to get airborne. So if he deemed the threat, severe enough, he would dive in the water and swim away and restart that drying process over again. But there's not much you can do to him to get in the water unless you went right up to him and tried to grab him. They are not too keen on getting wet once they've already begun their drying out process. So if anybody's familiar with a cormorant, kind of a similar vibe to a cormorant, but cormorants are more waterproof even than the anhinga. A lot of different little birds right now. So we're hearing one bird in particular, not right this second, but just a minute ago, and it'll happen again, and it'll happen some more, and we're going to hear more of this bird, I promise. But it is a very high-pitched, repetitive, over and over, really high up in the sky, really loud. Keep your ears peeled for that one, and any good great white heron flying over. If anybody gets a chance to see this big white bird, he's kind of the edge of this tree line. Not a great spot. He's off in the distance up. Great habit to get into is you hear something, trying to find whatever's making that noise. So as we get around this bend, we will hear more of this shrill, high-pitched, repetitive yip, 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 yip. Try to find. And if you see anything circling overhead, if I don't point it out fast enough, it is a large bird of prey, black and white in color. Kind of a skinnier bird, but you'll see him. You'll see him circling overhead, doing a very typical bird of prey, like a hawk would, or. This bird in question, there's a nest about 150 yards to your right in the trees. And we will paddle by several more. We're gonna see one. We're gonna see one great right up the person, close, visible. We're gonna hear him a lot before we get a chance to see him. Stuck?
Take a break.
Oh, high traffic area.
First look at some turtles. So as we come around this bend, stay a little more towards the middle or even a little more towards the left. There's a log floating in the water to the right. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 turtles. Various shapes and sizes all sitting on this log. So there are two main species of turtle in the state of Florida that will do this. Sit out on logs and expose themselves. We've got 6 different species of turtle in this body of water right now, but we're really only going to see the 2. And for the sake of this argument, we'll call them the Florida cooter turtle. There's one called the Florida cooter and there's one called the Florida red belly, but they're practically the exact same thing with the exception of coloration. I think you can think what color the Florida red belly turtle's belly is going to be. Exactly right, it's purple. Just kidding, it's red. And then the other one's going to have more of a tannish belly bordering on like a cream colored. But even those you can see are some of them are varying degrees of orange. When you have a turtle that has a red belly that breeds with a turtle that has a cream or yellow belly, you're going to get one that has an orange belly. So those are hybrids. To some degree or another, the genetics are so muddied now that they're in the same genus, so they can hybridize. And now the one closest to me, and then the next one in, they're both doing something weird with their feet. You guys see that? Yeah. With their feet stuck out like this?
Yes, yoga turtle.
So I call it turtle yoga, 100%, yes, they're just doing yoga. But what are they doing?
Drying their feet.
No. So another kind of question. Some of those turtles are good size. Some of them are very small. I mean, there's a couple on there that are this big or this big. Why would a turtle want to just expose themselves to predators? A bird could swoop in and eat those things. Some of them, half of them really, could fit in a great blue heron's mouth. A bird could swoop down and eat one of those, no problem. Why would they want to expose themselves to predators like that, just sitting on a log in the wide open?
Well, are their legs always in, so they gotta like, seriously?
No, so the reason they sit out on logs and the reason they're doing that feet thing are the same reason.
Warm.
Heat. Sun energy. Right? That's what cold-blooded means. Cold-blooded means they don't have an internal metabolism. We have an internal metabolism, 98.6 degrees, give or take, all the time. Right? They don't. Their exothermic means they generate their temperatures in the outside environment. That's what cold-blooded means. If they're sitting in the water's 75 degrees and they sit in that overnight, they are 75 degrees, their blood is 75 degrees. If they're sitting in the sun and they heat up over time and they get up to be, 80 degrees or 90 degrees, that's how hot they are. Oh, boo!
What?
Don't scare them away!
What is it?
Don't scare them all the way!
Somebody scaring something.
I got people paddling in my alligator nest over here. Blowing our spot all the way up. I want to take people.
For 10 seconds.
Not at all. Not even a little bit. What's that? Yeah. Happens sometimes. Where? How old was she? Yeah, the old lady just died on the edge of the creek, Gatorator. I don't hold any validity to any stories of alligators attacking people or people getting bitten or eaten by alligators, because they don't do that. So whenever I hear a story of that happening, that story's BS to some degree. There's some fantasy to it. There's some misinformation or some blowing out of proportion of reality. Because a gator, they've been around for 64 million years. They've overlapped our habitat for hundreds of years. If they wanted to come up out the pond and chase us down and drag us in the water and eat us, you best believe they would do that. But they don't do that. So it's like, did this lady trip and fall? This is a frail old lady and she landed on an alligator. Or there was one time where this lady was on the edge of a bike trail. She had a heart attack. She fell into the water and she was just dead. And they started scavenging on her, because they will scavenge on dead things. Like deer that hit by cars and die on the edge of the water. They'll scavenge. But let's say the vast majority of the time, alligators are bite and swallow whole kind of predators. So they're going to eat turtles, catfish, small mammals, small wading birds, swallow. Like a crocodile will eat. Crocodiles eat zebras and wildebeests. Totally different thing. Totally different thing. We think those are all vultures. All of them are vultures.
There are crocodiles here in the area?
There are crocodiles in the state of Florida, but not here. There's a little blue heron right here on this cut, on this left embankment in the grasses. Oh, there goes an osprey. We'll start seeing some osprey activity here. Yeah, those are all vultures. Those are all carrion and eating. They eat dead animals, roadkill. That's a little blue heron. It's one of the smallest species of heron in the state of Florida. We've got 11 different types of heron. It's one of the smallest. Good, nice turtle. No, it's the Florida feeding turtle. Yeah. All right, you guys leave anything left in there for us or no? Scare them all away.
There's a ton of them in there.
There's like 12.
Well, are they there still or?
Yeah. We didn't see the big one.
Give it a shot. Give it a shot, why not? Give it a go. Yeah, let's give this a look, see what's left.
There's one an der Spitze eintauchen und drüber.
I don't know how good the look we're gonna get, because they were right up on them. So I can imagine they scattered to some degree and are now in the water and scared. But just follow my lead. We're gonna stick on the right-hand side of this on the way up. We'll go up, do a little maneuver turn, and we'll stick on the right-hand side on the way out. So hug the right bank the whole time.
Did you guys hear that? He wants you over to the right. Yes. We're gonna hug the right.
There's a little one swimming in the water right here. You see any movement, guys? You see any movement in the water on this embankment on the left? There's one. We'll cruise that side on the way back, but there's one in the shallow weeds right here. Really hard to spot now that he stopped moving. But we'll go by him on the way out of here.
Right there.
And then as we get up into here, direct your attention towards the very end. The very end where the water meets the sand and any aquatic plants. So what we're looking for, guys, is going to be like this. These are baby alligators, like a foot long. So look for any color changes. Look for anything dark colored with some light greenish yellow striping on it. So there's one swimming directly to my right here.
See it? Yep.
So as we get about here, we're not going to get much further in and run them all over. Because that wouldn't be nice to do, to run them all over. I wonder if they can still hear me. So anywhere up in here, you see some movement right there. There's a baby one directly in front of me. This isn't a great view. There's the best view is going to be right here. There's some on that far bank. Follow my paddle. Right there's one right in the sun right there. Little one. There's two little ones right here. Right here. And then there's some more little ones right on these sticks back in there. So that's all we're really going to get to see, is these tiny ones. So there's a baby floating there in the water. Baby at the point there, baby on the land there. I'm looking at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 in there. There's at least 8, but they're all under a foot. So did we see him?
I see him.
Yeah, it's tough.
Yes.
It's tough.
One right there.
Looking
It's
there.
even more tough if those people were in here just running them over.
It's so hard to spot them.
Keep while on our shoulder and then beat them with their own paddles. Huh?
Do you eat alligator?
No. No, it's not. I've had it just like the novelty where they do like the alligator nuggets at the pub, and they're like, oh, it's just like a popcorn chicken. You deep fry anything and serve it with spicy ranch, it's good, you know, so you don't get the actual flavor. But I've heard like an alligator loin, like you treat it similarly to how you treat pork, and it's a lean, mild meat. I've never got to taste like a true alligator, like an alligator pork chop. Just the deep fried mess. And
No.
there's one more
Not yet.
on the right hand side.
We'll do it tonight.
So as we come out of here, cruise around, just follow this weed line. Right, follow this weed line all the way in here. Right, kind of just swoop over around this weed line. And then these are all cattails, these big tall grass looking things. Where the cattail ends, about another few feet up, he's sitting in the weeds right here. Still small, but he's maybe a little bigger than these other ones, about a foot long. See him starting to kind of move a little bit right here. Right at your guys' 12 or, yeah, right at your 12. See him? Kind of the shiny, look at the shiny bumpy thing right here. See him? If you can't see him, we got to go to the optometrist later. Here. Boom, right there. You look to your right more. You're looking too far left.
Oh.
There we go. See him?
Yeah.
All right.
Nice.
So,
Right there.
that's not even a year old. That's probably gonna be a 9-month-old alligator.
Yeah.
He's not even 18 inches. Getting close, but he's not there yet.
So how big did it get?
Whew. I mean, it left unimpeded and if left unharassed by man, an alligator could achieve a length of 18, 19 feet.
Oh wow.
And they did back in the late 1800s, until we started murdering them all. So think about it like this. If I'm 6 foot, my wife is 6'3", our kid is never going to be 6'6". It's not happening. No matter how hard we try, no matter how long they live or how much they grow, unless they've got some medical issue, they will never naturally be 6'6". So every alligator that we kill, or that people used to kill that got big, they've now removed that genetic potential out of the population. So it's not a guarantee that if left forever, a gator is going to get 17 feet long. They might just not have it in them genetically. So all the ones that had it in them genetically have now been taken away. So for the past 200 years or 150 years, we've been killing all the big ones, So now, to see an alligator that's 14 feet or 15 feet is like massive. It's huge. Because that potential has been taken out of the gene pool. You did? Yeah. Yeah. What do they have, like a big one in one of their ponds or something? Or?
Yeah.
That's just something I'm not a huge fan of, because most of those, like, if there's an alligator over, I think 5 feet in one of these little hotel ponds or residential areas, they'll trap it out. And then they like 100% turn that thing into a bell and some shoes and some meat, and it's worth money, even though that's like questionably legal. I'm sure there's a loophole with the legality of it, because the alligator is a federally protected species still. So I don't love that whole angle of trapping them and getting them out of there.
But I never even heard of a job like that.
Yeah. Well, you think about it, people. Here comes an osprey cruising overhead. Oh, come.
You see it?
Oh, you landed.
Yeah.
We went and landed up on a pine tree. We will see more. That's one of the few things I can promise that we'll see. We will see more osprey. This is just the beginning of it. We're gonna go by a nest that's like plain as day.
Who lives there?
I don't know. We're not acquainted.
Like you can actually live on the river.
Yeah, there's
There's turtles right here to your right.
No, where the cat really was. Or just different from.
You go 6
Different.
miles in either direction, and there's nothing like that. This is one of the older parts of. Yeah, so this is brief land acquisition laws history. This used to be before Kissimmee was Kissimmee's Allendale. This is part of Old Allendale. It's one of the old parts of Kissimmee. The next road over to your left, parallel to Green's Oakland. First road in town, Old Carriage Road. Paved now, but this is very historically relevant. Right by water. You want to live by water because you got access to your water and your washing and your food and your transportation and all that stuff. This I could imagine, I don't know these people, but I can imagine that land has been their family for since before Kissimmee existed. Well, once every few years when the hurricane. The one thing going for them is that this is one of the widest areas of the Southern Creek, and it's got a very sprawling floodplain. So there are other areas where, yeah, look at how wide it is right here, and look at how low relatively the embankments are. So the water has a chance to spill out over these low embankments into the woods for several hundred yards in either direction, and it disperses the overall flood potential. There are other places where the elevation is a little bit higher, the banks are a little bit higher, the creeks are more narrow, that you're getting like way worse vertical flooding, like more depth, because it doesn't sprawl as far out. So where we are, like elevationally, it's a more sprawling area, so they don't get the 6-7 foot drastic floods. They get 3-4 feet, which is, I mean, you saw that guy's house, it's built on like 3-foot blocks. One there, and then the first dock you saw was part of the park system, and the last dock you see is going to be part of the park system. So it's really just a chunk of land from, bookended by that big wooden seating area. That's what they use to park in this little aluminum dock back here. Just like 300 yards or less in the middle. So I don't know how the land acquisition laws go. I think there's a law because this is a state-owned land. If the properties ever go to public sale, the state has first dibs, I guess, to buy from them at whatever market value would be. So I don't know. I really don't know the ins and outs of the legality of the land acquisition and all that. But this is the only homes you'll see on this creek for 6 miles in either direction. The entire creek is 23 miles. 6 miles to the north, you're going to start getting into Hunter's Creek neighborhood where there's more development. You're going to see some homes on the creek. And then 6 miles south, right on the edge of what's like Tropical Lodge. The whole thing is nothing like this. Within the next 5 minutes or so, that this is one of the most accessible areas of the creek in terms of navigability. There's just about, I've shot, as far as I can north, I personally can't get more than 3 miles to the north. You're paddling through, like, woods, like dense shrubbery, dense wood, dense vegetation. It's honestly insane. So there are navigable stretches, kind of just intermixed with like thick swamp. And I'm like, I'm not shying away from trying to get through some of this stuff, and I can't get through it. I've got machetes, and sometimes I have a chainsaw. And I'm like, you get in the middle of it, and you're like, I have no idea which way's up. I don't even know where I am right now. Because you're not in a creek anymore. At that point, I'm like, if I had a drone and I could fly the drone up into the sky and see where the hell I even was, no, not like, for like go a little bit further away from this park. It depends how high you go. Most drones, they go way up. They go 2 miles an hour. When you keep it fairly low, they don't care. It is, yeah. Alright, so you guys come over to the left. Follow my lead. We're going to get an osprey nest with an osprey. Super visible. So stay on the left-hand side. When we get a little further than where I am, there's going to be a pine tree coming into view on the right. It is the only pine tree, long green needles. When you see this big pine tree, gigantic nest, and big old bird up there. The bird is to the left of the nest. Once you get once you're there, you get a glimpse, and then once you get about here, and once you get right here, you get a clean look at it.
Igel. Ein riesengroßes Nest. Da oben.
There you go. Up to the right. Big nest.
osprey. It's the bird in question that we haven't been hearing as much as I thought we'd be hearing. They're a very vocal bird, especially this time of year, especially this time of day. Not saying we won't hear them, but I expected more of a racket from them because most of the time they don't shut the heck up. But this is the third largest nesting species of all birds of prey in North America. So you got the bald eagle number 1, great horned owl number 2, osprey, third largest nest, 4 feet diameter, 3 feet depth. That's a big nest for a pretty good sized bird. If you aren't familiar with the osprey, they're about as big as a red-tailed hawk. If you aren't familiar with a red-tailed hawk, they're about, I don't know, 2.5 feet tall, 5.5 foot wingspan. Good sized bird. And then they build their nests right on the edges of bodies of water and tall trees. Why do they do that? You find them always at the moment is Hurricane Ian demolished that nest like there was nothing left at all. Late September, birds didn't come back until early February. So it's only been about 3 weeks since they've been back. And I like to look at the age they're capable of living to on the high end is more fair versus the average. Because the average, again, like if you're a baby turtle and you live to be 35, and I'm a baby turtle and I die when I'm 0, I'm a week old and I die. Now the average is like 17, 18 years, which is what it is. So I prefer to look at the high end. Like you're gonna live, if you're gonna make it to your 10th year, you're not just gonna hit 15 and croak. You're gonna make it till you're like 30 or 40. You know what I mean? So that's not fair to put that as their lifespan. But that's how a lot of wild animals are designated. Their lifespan is greatly skewed by all the young ones that die. Yeah. So whenever I look at lifespans and stuff for wild animals, I look at like the high So this is where it's going to start to get different. It's going to get, I mean, thankfully, it's starting to get hot. It is going to get shaded, a little more shaded. We're not quite there at the full canopy yet, but we're getting a little bit shaded, a little bit more congestion, a little more twists and turns. It's going to be a little more forested. So we'll get more narrow, and we'll get more twisty, and we'll get more challenging. So not yet, but within the next 5 minutes or so, we're going to have to, take it single file. And I mean, there's only 4 boats. Yeah, we are currently transitioning from an upland switcher to a wetland. So that pine tree back there where that osprey is in, that's one of the last pine trees we're going to see. If you look in front of you, there are no pine trees. Behind you, there's a couple pine trees. We're going to start losing these oak trees, big straggly ones. Those are live oak. Those are going to go away any minute. And then the embankments used to be covered in these spiky green fan leaf things in the woods. Families sticking out everywhere, there's a straggly one there, side one there. That's a softball meadow. Those are gone. A little too late for me to mention that, but if you look behind you, they're everywhere. If you look in front of you, they're not. Now we're losing bank elevation, right? We are getting more aquatic plant life. And again, it's winter, right? So the water's as low as it's going to be, dry as it ever really gets. So everything is kind of like, it's not looking too hot. We've got a lot of brown, we've got a lot of dry. We don't have a lot of wet and green quite yet. We've got some, but spring is just starting to around here. Now these white trees grown. I will 100% admit, unless I get a clean look at one of these birds, I have no idea what the hell it is. And people will hear that, and they'll be like, what is that? And I'm like, oh, that's a bird. Chirp chirp versus chirp 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 versus chirp chirp. I don't. It's all chirp to me. We've got warblers, nuthatches, finches, carulas, and then common stuff like cardinals and robins and catbirds, but all these little ones.